minutes.
All right. So, Lindsay, why are you here speaking to me now? What went wrong?
Okay, well, first of all, before we get into the gameplay, I just want to thank you so much for your quarantine questionnaires and all the work that you do on Survivor. I'm one of your biggest fans. And when I was working the front lines of the pandemic, taking care of COVID patients, your quarantine questionnaires were one of the things that I look forward to the most. In those really tough days, I can't tell you, just to be able to get away for 15 minutes and not have to deal with my reality at the time, and to be able to just immerse myself in your quarantine coverage was such a joy and a pleasure. And I just want to say thank you.
Well, let's talk about that for 20 more minutes, shall
Okay.
we? Very, very, very kind of you to say, Lindsay, very kind of you to say. Thank you. All right. So what happened? What happened out there?
What you guys didn't see was we were Coco strong for 9 straight days. I mean, we had a great thing going. James and I had our own little side alliance, and then we had the girls alliance. And the vote from day one was always going to be Gio. It was Gio for 9 days straight. And so while we were eager to strategize and start playing the game, we also knew that we had 9 days of like pretty easy living out there because we weren't going to tribal council and we were dominating. And then Gio and I had a conversation on the beach right after we lost that immunity challenge. And Gio confessed to me that it was me going home that day. He said, Lindsay, your name's getting thrown out. Ryan. And I said, well, where did you hear that from? And he said, Ryan just told me that it's your vote tonight, that you're going to be the one going home. And I said, well, why? And he said, Ryan didn't give me much information. He just said that he thinks you're a threat and they're going after you tonight. However, Gio didn't want that to be the outcome. And so while Gio wasn't going to tell me that it was Cassidy because he knew how close I was with Cassidy, Gio and I had a conversation that it was going to be James. And I agreed to vote for James, knowing that I wasn't really going to do it. I just told Gio that that's what I was willing to do. Because I didn't want to have to say to Gio that it was him going home that night. But that's kind of when my paranoia started to spiral. And I'll be the first person to admit I definitely got paranoid out there. But I think it was valid.
So to be clear, at that point, were you actually a target, or was Gio just trying to like confuse you, or did he think you were, but your alliance really wasn't planning on hitting you? Like, what was really happening when he was telling you that?
I genuinely believe, and this is a conversation that we've had since, is that he really wanted Cassidy to go home and he didn't want it to be me that night. So I think without telling me that he wanted the target to be Cassidy, I think he was trying to give me a heads up and kind of see how I could strategize and get the vote to turn. I don't know where he was heading with that because it would have never have gone to Cassidy. I never wanted Cassidy to go home. Ryan was such a strong player, and because the immunity challenges were based off of strength, Ryan's name just wasn't going to be put out there, at least not at that time. So again, and I think Gio also wanted to be the one making the call for that night. I don't think he wanted Carla to get the credit for sending me home. I think he wanted to be the mastermind behind that vote. And he definitely wanted Cassidy to go home.
So he's trying to work the vote against Cassidy and trying to work you against her in that whole situation. Do you think like there's sort of a history of big Survivor fans coming out there and kind of getting in their own head? And some people have rebounded from that, even though they almost went home earlier, and some haven't. I mean, I went to the first tribal council at South Pacific, and John Cochran gave maybe the worst tribal council performance I've ever seen because he was so worried that he was going home. Do you think maybe you being a big fan and getting out there and meaning so much to you sort of worked against you a little bit, that maybe you weren't able to just kind of like chill like some of the other players, or not?
I hear you on that. And I can understand why you'd think that. But as a big fan, I'm hyper aware of that as well. I think what was frustrating for me, and the reason you start to see me spiral, is because I confronted Carla and James after I had that conversation with Gio on the beach. And they just kept saying, it's not you, quit being paranoid. And I thought to myself, like, you guys are gaslighting me. Like, here I am telling you guys that someone has told me that my name has been put out there, and you guys keep telling me to stop being crazy. The other concern was we were worried at the time that Gio had the idol. And because Carla was doing such a great job hiding the fact that she had the idol from us, I couldn't figure out why, if Gio was the target and we were worried that Gio had the idol, why we weren't coming up with the plan B. And I specifically said to Carla, hey, why don't we go talk? And Carla, who normally always wants to talk with me, we always went for walks on the beach. She kind of snapped at me and said, I don't want to, I'm done talking. I'm done talking. And then she said to me, you're not going to play your shot in the dark tonight, are you? And it was in such an aggressive way that I realized, like, wait, she's not saying that as an ally of mine. She's saying that because she's trying to protect herself in this game. And so that's, again, when you start seeing me scramble. Unfortunately, Cassidy was on a walk at that time. And so I didn't have her there to kind of talk ideas back and forth with. And then Ryan and I had a really great relationship out there. Ryan kept calling me Mama Linz. And I felt like I was his mom out there. And I think the reason that Ryan was avoiding me the whole time was because he didn't have the heart to lie to me to my face. When you saw Ryan and I sitting there having our last meal together, Ryan gave me an apology. And it was basically him saying, like, I'm sorry you're going home tonight. And then they also, during tribal council, Ryan pretty much apologized for having to vote me out that night. So this didn't come as a blindside to me. After I tried to talk to James and Carla and flip the vote, they just kept saying, it's not you, it's not you. And so I had nowhere to go. There were no other conversations to be had. I felt like my hands were tied behind my back. So it was definitely a very frustrating last couple hours on Cocoa Beach.
So what do you think of like their move to get rid, if they got rid of you because they were worried that you were just, you know, being too paranoid or just sort of questioning the alliance too much, or however they want to put it, or you want to put it, like, do you think they did the right thing, or do you think that was not the right thing because they got rid of an ally and kept someone in Gio that they clearly also want to, that's not on their side?
My strategy going out there was, in a game where you can't trust anybody, you can trust me, right? I was never going to turn on my alliance. I was incredibly loyal to Carla and Cassidy and James. And my mentality out there was, if they ended up getting voted out at any point, I wouldn't be heartbroken because I understand that's how the game is. But it wasn't going to be me sending them home. I wanted to prove to everybody out there that I was going to stay loyal to the end. Carla's reasoning for voting me out was she was playing both sides and she was doing an incredible job. We had no idea. While we knew she was having conversations with Gio and Ryan, we didn't honestly think that she was really working with them. We just thought she was pulling information from them and then passing it on to us. But she will admit that her lies were starting to get tangled. And when she saw Gio and I having conversations on the beach that day privately, she started getting worried that I was going to find out that she was playing both sides. She was worried that Gio was going to end up telling me, hey, Carla's working with us. I know she's saying she's working with you. And then I also want to give credit to James. I don't think he's getting enough credit for the game that he's playing. Carla, Cassie, and I all believed that James was our number one from day one. And I think that speaks a lot for the social game that he was playing out there. And I really do wish you guys could have seen a little bit more of that.
What was it like, Lindsay, having to watch it all play back on TV? I mean, it's one thing to get voted out, and that's emotional. And, you know, there's a reason why they have a psychologist to talk to, because, you know, but then you have to watch it all play back and watch your, you know, your whole game unravel before your very eyes. Tell me about your emotions watching the episode.
It was heartbreaking. As a fan of the game and a player, that's not how you want to go out. You know, I'm definitely the type of person that does care about what other people think about me. And I definitely want respect from the Survivor community because I respect certain players. And of course I want to go down as, you know, one of the good ones. And so to see me go out like that was definitely heartbreaking.
You know, it's interesting because after episode 1, like, you were almost my winner pick to win. I talked to a lot of other people, Lindsay, like, oh, I like the game Lindsay's putting out there. And then we kind of didn't really see a lot of you after that. I mean, the great thing about winning challenges is you don't have to go to tribal council.
Yeah.
But it also means we don't see nearly as much of your camp, even with the extended episodes. And we especially didn't see a lot of you after the first week. Was that sort of frustrating? Because I know what it's like when you get out there and you live this reality of 24 hours a day. This is your experience. And then you obviously are only going to see a minute or two of it on screen.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredibly frustrating. If that was the way that I was going to go out, I wish we had been able to see our tribe dynamic. We were all really close, and it was a divided tribe. I mean, as much as we had our family meals together and we'd meditate and we played bocce ball on the beach and stuff, make no mistake, we were definitely playing out there, and we definitely had Gio as our number one target. I'd be lying if I said that I thought that's really how the vote would go. It was too easy. It just got to the point where after 9 days of us, constantly going off to the water well and exploring. I mean, how many times can you have the same conversation, which is Gio? It's Gio, right? It's still Gio. It's still Gio. It's still Gio. Like I said, I just really wish that you guys had seen the conversation that Gio and I had. And I wish you could have seen the conversation that Ryan and I had on the beach that kind of led to my paranoia.
Tell me about your reaction at the challenge when Vesey starts blatantly helping Baca with the puzzle at the end of the challenge, which ultimately did lead to your ouster, although you didn't know it at the time. But tell me what you're thinking as you're sitting there and you see one tribe blatantly helping the other one beat you all to send you all to tribal.
So I was so laser focused on trying to get the puzzle solved that I didn't realize it until after the challenge was over. And that's when I want to say we even found out by Jeff. I think it was Jeff that had told us. And my jaw dropped and I was devastated. I specifically told Jeff, like, I hate losing. There's nothing I hate more than losing. It's one of my toxic traits. But in a game where there's limited rules and anything goes, if that's how you want to play, like, that's how you want to play. And you don't see me say it to Vesey, but I said to them, look, if this is how you guys are going to play, like, just be prepared. Be prepared for us to come after you guys once the merge hits. But I went through Gio's bag. They didn't show that, but we thought probably around like day 3 that Gio had the idol. And I thought Cassidy was going to be the one going home. And so Cassidy, Carla, and I came up with a plan for us to go through Gio's bag. And I ended up finding a map that I thought was a map to an immunity idol. And so for like days, we were convinced that Gio had the clue to an immunity idol. It was really funny. I'm actually shocked they didn't show it, but I definitely looked like an idiot out there when it turns out the map was actually the map that they had given Gio and Ryan to go look for our supplies. But we didn't know that at the time. And Carla did because she had the immunity idol. But yeah, I'm kind of under the mindset that anything goes. So if that's how you want to play, like, go ahead and play it, but there's going to be consequences.
Let's talk about the other. I mean, they were clearly targeting your tribe all episode. So how are you feeling about the negotiation with Cody after he left with the fishing gear and the limes and all that stuff?
My biggest fear was that they were going to take our machete. We needed that machete. We used that thing day and night. We had a lot of food out there. And so for us to give that to him was kind of like an olive branch. Here, please, like that was his reward for not taking our machete. We were bummed with the fishing gear, but we knew that we could recover from that. We weren't going to be able to recover if they took our pot or our machete.
Like, after everything now, right? You've been wanting to get on this show for 22 years. You get on the show. You got a 1 in 18 chance of actually winning the thing. So how do you feel now about doing it? Is there a lot of excitement that you got to live your dream? Is there some regret that you went out when you did? How do you process it all together, Lindsay?
Well, Dr. V, our psychologist, has done a lot of work with me. It's bittersweet. I had a great 9 days on the island. I got to live my dream. I just, similar to Chelsea, I feel like my time was kind of cut short and that I didn't get enough time to play. I would have loved to have been out there way longer. I'm grateful for the experience, but I just wish I had had more time. And I really hate that I went out the way that I did.
If you could go back and change one thing, if we could just put you back on that beach, right? Like, we're going to make history by change history. I got an hourglass. I'm going to knock it. I'm going to put you back on the beach. What would you do differently?
I know the easy answer would be to not be so paranoid, but I'm going to stand by my behavior out there. And I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with that, but that's how I felt at the time. And I'm not going to take that back. One of my regrets is being such a super fan out there and letting everyone know. There is 2 parts to this. You know, I could have gone out there as the oldest woman on my tribe and kind of played dumb. I don't know how to build shelter. I don't know how to build fire. I'm not great at challenges. I don't know how to do puzzles, but that's not who I am in my everyday life. And I knew that I I didn't want to fall under the category of older women that make it to the end, but are 0 vote finalists or just can't finish the task. I wanted to be able, especially in a 26-day game, I wanted to be able to go out there and start out strong and ride it to the end. I had every intention of taking the strongest players to the end with me. I know you see me saying, hey, let's go with an all girls alliance. I went with the all girls alliance because I genuinely trusted and loved Cassidy and Carla out there. I wouldn't have just picked any random women. It was those specific women that I really wanted to ride to the end with. I wanted to take a strong person to the end, 2 strong people to the end, and I wanted us to fight it out to the finish. I'm a firm believer that, like, if I'm going to win something, I want to win against the best. I don't want to win against, a goat that was carried to the end.